Hello everyone, this is Mahesh and today I am going to read you yet another story from Chandamama. This story is from April 2006 issue of Chandamama. From the pen of Ruskin Bond, The Coming of Kamal. My parents had given me a small room perched on top of the bungalow. I was sitting on my bed one morning watching a cheeky myna hopping about on the window sill when somebody shouted up to me from below, "Does anyone live up there?" "No," I shouted back. "Nobody lives up here." There was a moment's silence. "Then can I come up?" asked the person below. "What do you want to come up for?" I said. "To see the voice that belongs to nobody." "All right, come on," I said. "I wouldn't mind seeing what you are either." "Do I just walk up the steps?" "That's right, there are 21 steps. After that, turn right, and you will be facing the door of my room. 21 steps. Remember, if you take 22, you will fall off the roof." I heard him coming up. The myna flew off the window sill and settled on the mango tree. A warm wind came through the garden and the leaves moved restlessly. A boy stood in the doorway, smiling at me. He was a little taller than Anil, but thinner. He wore red sports shirt, khaki shorts, and strong Peshawari sandals. A tray hung from his shoulder, filled with an assortment of goods. "Here I am," he said. "Anil sent me." "Anil is out of town for a week," I said. "I know. He told me before he left." He looked about the room at my cricket bat and books. Then he looked through the opposite door, which opened out on the roof. "Is it your roof?" he asked. "The house is my father's," I said, "but the roof is mine." He stood at the door of the roof and looked out over the trees and the tops of houses, at the circle of blue mountains rising from the edge of the forest. If the roof is yours, the world is yours," he said. "Nobody can prove it isn't." He turned to me and came back to business. "Would you like to buy something?" In his tray were combs, buttons, reels of thread, shoelaces, and cheap perfumes. I felt I had to buy something now that he had come all the way up 21 steps. I didn't really need a comb, but I bought one for 10 paise. "You need buttons?" he said. "No, I don't," I replied. "The top button of your shirt is missing," he observed. "I never button my shirt at the neck, so it doesn't matter." "That's different," he said, and looked me over for further signs of wear and tear. "You better buy a pair of shoelaces." "I have got laces," I said, making sure they were on my shoes. He bent down to look at the laces, took one between his fingers and snapped it into. "Very poor quality," he said. "See how easily it breaks?" "Well, just for that I'm not going to buy any," I said. He sighed, shrugged, and moved towards the door. "You buy a comb which you don't need, but you will not buy buttons and laces which you do need." He walked slowly downstairs, and I stood in the doorway watching him go. I was a little sorry that he was leaving. With Anil away, I did not have much company. "What's your name?" I called out after him. "Kamal," he replied. "Well, come again," I said. He smiled and nodded and disappeared round the side of the house. In the evening, I could see the bazaar lights from the roof and hear the jingle of Tonga bells. It was becoming hotter day by day, and in the evenings, everyone in town went for a walk to enjoy the breeze. I found it difficult to walk on the bazaar road. Beside the large number of pedestrians, there were cyclists and hand carts, making movement difficult. At a little tea shop, film music was being played over a loudspeaker, adding to the noise and confusion. The balloon man was having a trying time. He was surrounded by a swarm of children who were more anxious to burst his balloons than to buy any. One or two broke away from the bunch and went sailing over the heads of the crowd to burst over a fire in the chart shop. Near the clock tower, the road widened and became less congested. There was a street lamp at the corner. A boy was sitting on the pavement beneath the lamp, bent over a book, absorbed in study. The noise from the road did not appear to disturb him. When I went nearer, I noticed that the boy was Kamal. The book he was reading was David Copperfield Abridged. It was probably part of his English course. I couldn't make up my mind whether or not to stop and talk with Kamal or carry on without disturbing him. I felt I should have spoken to him, and yet I didn't. When I had gone some way down the road, I felt ashamed not having at least greeted him and turned around and walked back. But when I reached the lamp post, Kamal had gone. When he came again, he did not call out from below, but came straight upstairs. He examined my shirt and my shoes and discovered that one of my shoes was still done up with only one lace. Triumphantly, he dropped a pair of shoelaces on the bed. I can't pay for them now, I said. You can pay me later. I don't get much pocket money, you know, but surely your father will pay for shoelaces, he said. He had me there. Pocket money was, of course, meant only for sweet shops and bicycle hire, and the Lauren and Hardy reissues that came to town every month. You go to school, he said. I am taking my matriculation examination at the end of the month. If I pass, I could see he was thinking of things he might be able to do if he passed. He could study for a degree, become a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer. He would be a good lawyer, I thought, and there would be no need to sell buttons and combs at street corners. Have you no parents? I asked. They died when I was very small, he said. That was when the country was divided and we had to leave our homes in Punjab. I think they were killed, but I did not see it happen. I was lost in the crowd at the railway station. Do you remember them well? I asked. A little. My father was a farmer. He was a strict man and spoke only when it was necessary. My mother was kind and would give me what I liked and would sing to me in the evenings. When I lost them, I was looked after in the refugee camp. The people in charge were going to send me to a children's home, but I ran away from the camp. Soon I was making my own living. I like to be my own. I am happier that way. Where do you sleep? Anywhere, on somebody's veranda or in the Maidan. It doesn't matter in the hot weather. In winter, people are kind and give me places to sleep. You can stay here whenever you like, I said. I'm sure my people won't mind. Thank you, he said. I will come one day. He looked across the roof. Don't you feel lonely up here? It is so quiet. I like to be near people, where there is talking and laughter. So do I, sometimes. But I like to be alone too. I'm going to be a writer. I suppose I won't make much money. But if I am writing and if I have few good friends, I should be happy. One day I accompanied him on his rounds. We met as he came out of an old house. There were two marigolds on his tree. An old lady lives here, he said. Some say she is really a Maharani, but she is very poor now and the house is falling to pieces. But she always buys something from me, and when I leave, she gives me one or two flowers from her garden. At another house, a little further down the road, Kamal was met by a girl of his own age who chatted with him and went through his tray without buying anything. She had a round, fresh face, long black hair, and wasn't wearing any shoes. Kamal gave her the two marigolds and she took them and ran indoors. She never buys anything, said Kamal, but she likes to talk to me. Once I gave her a ribbon, but her mother made her pay for it. One morning, when I opened the door of my room, I found Kamal asleep at the top of the steps. His tray lay on one side. I shook him gently, and he woke immediately, blinking in the sharp early morning sunshine. Why didn't you come in? Why didn't you wake me up? I asked. It was late, Lorry. I didn't want to disturb you. Somebody could have stolen your things. Oh, nobody has ever stolen anything from me. He stayed in my room that night, and we sat up till past midnight, talking of different things. I told him of Jersey, the island where I had spent much of my youth, of London, where I had often gone with my parents, and of my voyage out to India by way of the Suez Canal. He in turn told me about his village in Punjab and of his hopes and ambitions. The exams came at last, and for a week Kamal put aside his tray of merchandise and spent his time at the examination center. He was quite confident that he had done his papers well, and when it was all over, he took up his tray and went on his rounds again. On the day the results were expected, I rose early and walked to the news vendor. Anil was there too, buying vegetables for his mother. We bought a paper and looked down the columns concerning our district, but we couldn't find Kamal's number in the list of successful candidates. We were very disappointed. When I returned to my room, I found Kamal sitting on the steps. I didn't have to tell him the news, he already knew it. I sat down beside him, and we were silent for some time. If only you had more time to study, I said. I'll have plenty of time now, he said. Another year. That means you and Anil and I will finish school together. Then we'll celebrate. He got to his feet with his tray hanging from his shoulders. What would you like to buy? He said. I took another comb from his tray and put it in my pocket. I needed soap and buttons, but I took a comb which I didn't need. There was more fun in doing that.